Man, what a quiet crowd. All right, we have a couple seats up here. If you'll, somebody wants to fill in on the seats, you're welcome to it. Well, good morning, Doddridge County, and thank you for joining us on this beautiful, although overcast, fall day in wild, wonderful West Virginia. My name is Chris Warner, and I'm the State Director for USDA Rural Development in West Virginia. I'd like to call on Denver Burnside, President of the Doddridge County Board of Education, to lead us in an invocation.
As we bow for prayer, please. Our Father, we come to you today thanking you, Lord, for your many blessings. God, you've been good to our county, been good to our state. We thank you, Father, for each and every one that's here this morning. Father, we thank you for the collaboration that it's taken to get this day to become a reality. And Father, we're just so grateful, God, for your blessings here today. I pray, God, that you'd help us to be good stewards of what you bless us with. And Father, help us as a nation, a state and a county, to get back to the center of the road where we need to be. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much, sir. It's my pleasure to be here today for the unveiling of this exciting news for Doddridge County and the Mountain State. Before we get to the announcement, I would first like to take a moment and introduce our special guest. With us today is Jim Hubbard, Undersecretary for USDA's Natural Resources and Environment, U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito, U.S. Congressman David McKinley, who represents the 1st Congressional District, Jim Martin, the President and CEO of CityNet, Superintendent of Schools Adam Cheeseman, and Doddridge County Commissioner Sean Glaspel will be representing, even though Ronnie Travis and Clinton Means are here, he'll be speaking for the County Commission later in the program. Also in attendance today is the Director of the new Office of Broadband at the West Virginia Department of Commerce, Charlie Denny, and Secretary of State Mac Warner is in the crowd. I've also seen the Senate President Mitch Carmichael. I saw Delegate Ben Queen. Thank you all for being with us today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules. I know you're excited to hear about today's announcement, but some of you may be wondering what the Rural Broadband Reconnect program is. The Reconnect program offers unique federal financing and funding options in the form of loans, grants, and loan grant combinations to facilitate broadband deployment in rural areas of America that do not currently have sufficient access to broadband. This program generates private sector investment to deploy broadband infrastructure to provide high-speed internet e-connectivity to as many rural premises as possible, including homes, community facilities for healthcare, public safety, schools, libraries, farms, ranches, factories, and other production sites. Now that you know a little bit about the Reconnect program, I would like to call on our guest of honor, Secretary Hubbard, to tell you how this program will benefit rural West Virginia. Secretary Hubbard was sworn into office on September 6, 2018, to lead the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Natural Resources and Environment. In this role, he oversees the work of the USDA Forest Service. Although he didn't start his federal career until 2004, Secretary Hubbard has years of public service experience, with more than 34 years with the Colorado Forest Service. With so many years of experience in the natural resources and environment field, Secretary Hubbard is a great addition to the USDA's leadership team in Washington. Please welcome Secretary Hubbard.
Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the welcome. Appreciate being here. I'm going to take my mask off, although all of you are doing such a good job of keeping yours on. But I fog up, and so I need to take my glasses off or my mask off if I want to read these things. Well, nice day. Good rain. This program has to do with 21 million people in this country that don't have internet connection. 80% of those are rural. West Virginia understands that. You've got your own challenges with your terrain and how to reach those people, and that's not a simple thing. So, and it's not always an economical thing for the companies in the business to do that. So, it's what Reconnect is all about. It's getting to those rural communities, those people that live where they do and don't have the connection. Now, understand a lot of them don't want the connection, but that's another matter. It's still something that's becoming increasingly necessary. It's probably why the state decided that a broadband development council was something that they needed to pay attention to. So my hat's off to you for paying attention to what you need to do with all of this business. But obviously distance learning right next to a high school that doesn't have in-person today, that is increasingly necessary, and at least in these times. And without the connection, it doesn't work. And I think we'll probably learn a few things from what we're going through and handle business a little bit different in the future, but it'll be something that is part of what we do. Telemedicine, essential to many people that don't have other access and don't have a good option. Business, how we do business today. Many people are doing that kind of business from their home if they can, and that's the idea, that we want to make sure that they can. So the kids need it, our grandparents need it, we need it. It's part of what we do. It's a learning experience. I have a 9-year-old grandson that prefers in-person school, and so I asked him how it was going. He's not in school. He's doing it virtually, and he says, I hate it. And that was a month ago. Now he's gotten used to it a little bit. The teachers have gotten used to it a little bit. He said, it's okay. But he has that connection, and they all need it, or at least they need the opportunity to have it. And so that's the program that Secretary Purdue oversees through rural development, and we're carrying it out across the country. I've done a number of these events, and glad to do it. Always glad to be able to make sure we're connecting rural America with what rural America needs. So today is the announcement of a nearly $8 million grant to CityNet to carry this out. The way this works is always through the current internet, the providers of this service. Government doesn't get into it, but the government through rural development helps them to reach these kinds of customers that they couldn't otherwise. So hopefully this will help, and this is one of many that are going on around the country that we hope brings rural America into the equation for how business is being done, at least today, and maybe some in the future. So congratulations, and glad to be here to help announce this, celebrate this, be a part of this, and see how this moves you forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for that wonderful announcement. This $7.6 million Reconnect investment brings the total USDA rural development broadband and telecommunications investment in West Virginia to more than $40 million in the last year alone. Up next, is a good friend of my family and your family as well, our broadband U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito. Senator Capito launched her Capito Connect program in 2015 as an effort to better connect homes, businesses, and classrooms across the Mountain State. Under Senator Capito's initiative, more than $42 million in grant funding has been awarded in West Virginia to support broadband deployment, which is extending service to more than 19,000 households. Through her Capito Connect plan, Senator Capito is creating a roadmap for bringing affordable, high-speed internet access to every home, business, and classroom in West Virginia. Please welcome U.S. Senator Shelley Moore Capito.
Well, I don't have glasses, but I'm going to take the liberty of taking my mask off so you can hear me. I don't usually quote Speaker Pelosi, but when I thought that the microphone was going dead there for a minute, I thought, well, Speaker Pelosi always says, because she's a mother of 5, I'm the mother of 3, grandmother of 7, I'm going to put my mother voice on here and everybody's going to hear me. So I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I want to say to President Burnside and Superintendent Cheeseman, yes. I'm so glad it's raining because your poor fields really need all this rain so they can grow. I mean, I've been all over the 55 counties in West Virginia repeatedly, but I never quite made it out to the high school before, and you have a facility to be so incredibly proud of. It. Absolutely gorgeous. So, really, I know everybody's anxious here to get the kids back in school, probably, as our secretary said, and thank you so much for coming. We're just so honored to have you here. Nobody more than the kids want to be back in schools. The teachers want to be back in schools. I'm certain every parent would like to have their children back in school. So we're going to hope that that testing that's going on up there is going to move the dial here in Doddridge County, which I think it will. I want to thank the sheriff for coming today. I appreciate you bringing your deputies. You know what? We here in West Virginia appreciate law enforcement, appreciate everything you do. So it's a great day here. We got the county commission, and I won't go through the introductions. It's always good to be on the stage with David McKinley. He's a great leader for the 1st District. David and I are very good friends. He's a little miffed at me right now, and but if you know David being miffed at you is not an unusual thing. But he's mad at me because I had an event scheduled in Wheeling yesterday, but we forgot to tell him we were going virtual. So he took a shower and showed up, and I'm sorry. But he's now going to dial it back, all the nice things he says he normally says about me. I want to thank Chris Warner, too, for his leadership at rural development with USDA. He mentioned $40 million of broadband deployment. That's only part of what Chris does in the state. But this issue is so absolutely critical to Doddridge County, Barber County, Randolph County, every county in the state. But particularly here in the middle is where, and Jim Martin at CityNet can tell you even better where all the gaps are. But in the middle and in southern West Virginia, we seem to have more gaps than in other places. And of course, the gaps follow the more sparsely populated areas, and that's natural. But when you can use the dollars, your tax dollars, and the dollars that we put into the CARES package to deploy that so that his company, CityNet, can come in and serve, 1,900, I think, individuals who don't have service, who are unserved, who are unable to study and have telehealth and telecommute in their homes. I think it's not just a good use of our tax dollars, it's an incredible needed use of our tax dollars, because broadband deployment is the infrastructure need of the 21st century. And if any child cannot study from home, they come into that classroom, whether they're coming in person or whether they're coming in virtually, they come in that next day behind. Yeah. And when a child's behind, it's not just they're not up on their schoolwork, their self-esteem starts to go lower, their belief in themselves starts to dwindle, and parents are sort of at a loss to try to figure out how to fill that gap. And in some families, they don't have that help at home that can help them. So this broadband deployment is much bigger than just being able to pull up the latest YouTube video or TikTok or things that, I'm trying to sound contemporary there, that might be offered. So anyway, Capito Connect, as Chris mentioned, I started right from my Senate campaign of 2014 when I was traveling the state, realizing this is the issue. And now we are here five years later. Things are better, but with what we've seen during the pandemic, we've realized how much better they need to get and how full. I've done a little tour of telehealth. What the amazing things that can happen in telehealth with broadband deployment is having a specialist in your home, a specialist at your community health center, where you can see a nephrologist like they did in Somersville, or you can have stroke intervention like we have in a lot of our community health centers, our emergency health centers. So you're talking to, Morgantown or Charleston or Huntington or some of the bigger med centers to be able to meet the crisis. And when these, when our law enforcement or our EMTs are picking up people, they're getting timely, in the moment health advice that is absolutely critical to not just save lives, but also save quality of life. So I just think that what we're seeing here today is something I'm extremely proud of. Now, I'm on my way back to Washington. I'm going to take a few minutes to just talk about the CARES package. The CARES package that we passed in March, which you saw on the heels of this pandemic, we created the PPP program, testing, vaccine development, unemployment help with the $600 additional per week benefit. We also had in there, there's just all kinds of things in there that were absolutely critical to keeping us kind of afloat during what we saw were unsteady seas, or really uncharted waters. We didn't know. Did I think we would be sitting here in Doddridge County at the middle of November still wearing masks and not going to school in March, honestly? Oh, it's going to be okay by October. Well, now we know this is leaching into next year. This is something, so we still have great need for help. So we're going to go back tomorrow and Wednesday and vote on a bill in the United States Senate that's going to have help for extended PPP for our small businesses. It's going to have extended unemployment with a $400 extension of that benefit. It's going to have $105 billion for our schools. And I'm sure that you could tell us, Superintendent, where you still have needs to be able to social distance, where you still have needs to be able to tele-educate, or where you still have needs to be able to provide PPE for not just your students, but your classroom teachers, your bus drivers, and all the folks where we need to make sure we're protecting our workplace. So $105 billion in there. Also, more advances in testing and vaccine development. We are on track to have a development of the vaccine by the first of the year. We are going to prioritize who gets it. Everybody in this tent would probably agree we need to prioritize to our most vulnerable and our frontline workers who are dealing with COVID. So that's where we're going to start. I'm sorry to say that this whole vote of additional COVID relief package has gotten, surprise, thrown up into politics. We know there's a big election coming up on November the 3rd. So I'm not too optimistic that we're going to be able to get it passed, but I'm voting for this because I feel like we ought to join together, Republicans and Democrats, go where we have common ground, which is all the things I noted and more, and go ahead and pass that. And then let's hash out whether we should be giving another $1 trillion to state and local governments and other things. So that's my position. That's what I'm going to maintain. I will say that in the package that we're looking at, we will give the governor the flexibility, the governors the flexibility to use the money that they have gotten through the state to extend the amount of time that they can spend their money, but also give them more flexibility in how they can spend their money. I mean, David and I have talked about this. Our governor wants to be able to help this county, Doddridge County, and West Union, the town of West Union, to be able to recover lost tax revenues that you're going to see from less sales tax or other things that we see a downturn in our tax revenues because of the downturn in the economy. We want to be able to, and the governor wants to use this CARES money that he still has to be able to do that. Right now he can't do that because we've hamstrung him in our legislation. We want to give him the flexibility to be able to do that. And so those are the things we're going to go back. Obviously, we're going to be having a big vote on the Supreme Court nominee, who I will be voting for, and very proudly voting for Amy Coney Barrett. And then it'll be back home, which is always great to get back home. But I am going to take a point of personal privilege because it's very rare that I get the honor to have to do this in a public event. But I do have my husband with me today, Charlie. So Charlie, would you please stand? He says he's driving Miss Shelley today, so he's driving me to Washington today, which is great. And as many of you know, in public life, if you didn't have somebody to really rely on and bellyache to at night when it's time to go to bed, or when you get up in the morning and see something you don't quite agree with, what happens every now and then, it's always nice to have a partner of 44 years there, right there with you, behind you. So thanks, Charlie, for that. Thank you all very much. This is a great announcement. Jim, congratulations to CityNet, and your vision has been tremendous, and we've worked together very, very closely along with Aaron Spork in my office to be able to make sure we're maximizing every single federal dollar that's available for any state. I'm going to make sure that West Virginia is right at the front of the line. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator, for going to bat for West Virginians and supporting broadband expansion every day. Your support and dedication is felt throughout the Mountain State. Our next guest is Congressman David McKinley, West Virginia's 1st Congressional District Representative in the nation's capital. Congressman McKinley knows that sometimes there can be red tape to get through in order for broadband infrastructure to be implemented. To help address this issue, he recently introduced the Facilitating Digital Bill that stands for the deployment of infrastructure with greater internet transactions and legacy applications. This bill will help streamline the application process, essentially speeding up the deployment of broadband infrastructure. Please welcome Congressman David McKinley.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Secretary, for being here. I don't know how to build off what Shelley just said about me, You know, I've known Shelley for probably 50 years, and I just think the world of her. And in many respects, what she's done in the Senate on broadband is she energized us in the House to do the same thing. So she's a leader on this, and I think we all ought to, again, a little round of applause for all the work she's done. I was kidding her as we were sitting here. I don't let her ever catch up with you, but we've got our bills in the House for running on this thing because we understand how important broadband is with it. But let me just step back for a minute. I'm just an engineer from Wheeling, West Virginia. I'm one of just 2 licensed engineers in Congress. Now think about that. Out of 435 members, only 2 licensed engineers. Now there are 242 attorneys.
There's a problem.
Like there's not that there's anything wrong with that. I like those odds because what engineers do are build things. We have to put together vision, and what I like to see, what I'm seeing in Doddridge County is that building. Someone's putting together a plan. And when I went to Congress 10 years ago, we started working early with some of the people here in Doddridge County, as well as the other counties as well. But I want you to understand, your county commission gets it. They understand what they've got to do. And they're out there trying to make that all of it come back together again. Because when you build a building, you got to start with a foundation. You got to have people have a vision to understand it. They get it. And they understand some of the shortcomings, and they've challenged me and Shelley to go ahead and help us out. They've challenged Amy Swan, where we knew one of the things we had to have was water into this county. And Amy's been phenomenal in trying to get us water into it. But I look at the school board. Before I get to the school board, let me finish back on that. The stewardship of the money that's come into here. Our county commission in Doddridge County has made such a proper care. Just look at the facilities. Any place you drive around here, you see that what they've done in being good stewards of the money. And they've been so good that Cheeseman knows he's been up against it, because this is the only, I believe it is, the only county in the state that doesn't get any the state aid for the school aid, because you have managed your money so well here in this county. So I thank you, Superintendent, for what you've done. And I also want to do another shout out for him too, because what you've got, the only county that I know of in the state, for you to graduate, you have to have a career technical education. You've got to take at least one class. And we were talking before the rain started, we all huddled in here about go try to find a plumber to fix your toilet or your water or your electric. You can't find those people. What he's trying to do is make sure that all across America, it's starting here, this is emblematic of it. We expose people to that. Maybe there are people that might want to do that kind of job, to get their hands dirty, to work as many of us have done over our career. I started off in manufacturing. Okay, so I understand what it takes to do that, but he's doing a great job. So I want to applaud our Board of Education. I want to applaud our county commission. We want to applaud the Economic Development Authority for what they've done in trying to keep this thing, because the plan is coming together. I hope you see it. This has been something that's all been coming together. And now we got CityNet, and we want to thank them for their investment and their plans, or what they have in mind here, because all of this has been in the works, quietly behind the scenes. So Zorn, now you're seeing it come out, okay? You're seeing the plan that you and I have talked about numbers of times. This county is on the move. And I applaud all of you for participating, and thank you on that. And I wish you all good health. I know it's dangerous, that could be dangerous for us to be out here like this, but it's the right thing to do. We've got to get back. We got to get back to our schools, get back to our businesses, and open them up so that they're full blown. So this economy that we had back in November, December of last year, look how robust it was in West Virginia. The operation going, Max told me, and he's doing a great job, Secretary of State, he told me we have more business startups last year in West Virginia we've ever had in the history of West Virginia. That was what this economy was going until this China virus hit us. So we're struggling with it, but we're going to come through it because we're Americans. And we have a vision of what we can do and how we can rebuild this American dream that's coming. And I think thanks to CityNet, you're going to see that. And thanks to President Trump and his commitment, his absolute commitment to broadband coverage, you're going to see us get back, and hopefully get back faster. So God bless all of you. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate.
Thank you, Congressman, for your hard work. Our next speaker, Jim Martin, eats, sleeps, and breathes broadband. As the president and CEO of CityNet, his whole life revolves around bringing high-speed internet to the people of West Virginia. Please welcome Jim Martin.
Thanks, Chris. The fact you mentioned that I eat, sleep, and breathe broadband, just for a little history for folks that aren't familiar, I'm a true West Virginian. I grew up in Beverly, West Virginia. And for those that have been down in the Beverly area, there's the old bank that's on Files Creek. If you take a left, drive to the end of that road, the last house with power is where I grew up. So I have a real appreciation for the challenges of being in rural America. Back then we didn't have broadband, but there's still a lot of challenges back then. But today, one thing that's acutely aware is the broadband challenge that exists in America. There's definitely a digital divide that is happening. There's those that have internet and those that don't. And it's a real important mission for me and for our company to try to get broadband out into those rural areas. where it's desperately needed. I mean, having grown up there, I've got a lot of friends in the rural areas, and I'm out there a lot, and I see the challenges that exist. So we're really excited to be here today for this announcement. But before I get started, I'd probably give you a little history. This started off about probably a little over a year and a half ago, and really this county should be very appreciative of your local EDA, Economic Development Director, Jennifer Wilt. She is really, I look at the back on this, and she's really the one who kind of got us to where we are today. At the same time, we need to thank Superintendent Cheeseman and the County Commission. They, a little over a year and a half ago, we had heard that the county had made some investment into broadband. They'd set money aside, but they really didn't have an idea of how to implement that. So we were fortunate to have the opportunity to meet with Ms. Wilt and talk about what the county's, what funds they had and what their plans were. And at that time, there was really no discussion of any type of broadband expansion in the area. So we met with them and we kind of took a look at what the area looked like, and the project originally started off as doing a wireless deployment, a last mile wireless. So wireless means it's served off of local towers, and for someone to get internet, they have to see the tower. You actually have to have a line of sight. So we started down the path of doing a wireless project here in the county. And then as we started to get into it, obviously the COVID hit, and we had gone out and started to tour the facility, or the county, and one of the things we realized is unlike some of the other counties in the surrounding areas, everyone in Dodgers County builds down in the valleys. Whereas if you go over into like Ritchie County, a lot of folks are up on top, so we quickly realized there might be a little bit of a challenge in extending broadband via wireless, but we still had the plan in place. But then at the same time, there was two other things that were happening that we saw on the horizon. One was a project with a company called Zayo Bandwidth, which I'll talk about in a second. And the second is the Reconnect broadband program that we're here for today. So fortunately, knowing that there was a challenge on the wireless side, the Zayo project that I just mentioned, there is a company that is Zayo Bandwidth. They're pretty much a worldwide fiber optic provider, and they have a project that they have announced a couple of years ago where they're building a private fiber network from Columbus, Ohio over to Ashburn, Virginia. And fortunately, we've had a long relationship with that company, and we've been very involved in that since the beginning, and can say that project started off several months ago, and they're probably real close in our backyard, or maybe across the highway, in which we've engineered it to build the fiber system to come down the rail to trail, meaning coming from Parkersburg to Clarksburg. Originally the plan was to come down Route 50, but the challenge when everyone thinks, well, why don't we build broadband down our interstates and our major 4 lanes? Well, nobody lives on those routes. They do go through some major areas, but as far as getting to the rural area, there's not a lot of folks that live near there. So we took a look at, what other options are there, and so we have a great rail to trail systems from Parkersburg to Clarksburg, and it had some need for some upgrades. So we kind of worked with the state and came up with a plan to build that route down through the rail to trail. And when it's all complete, the plan is to not only have this great fiber system through there, and we can serve all the households and communities along the path, but then the final thing on the project will be to put a whole new gravel compaction on top of it, so that essentially the state's going to have a brand new rail trail when this is all said and done. And right now there's some challenges, as you can imagine, with any kind of construction, but we're proud to say that the crew that we're working with right now, they're just hammering through. I think West Virginia is ahead of both Virginia and Ohio with the build, so we're really proud about that. And again, that's fiber that was coming right through Dodgers County that we didn't know when we first started talking with the county and the EDA and the school. So then there's that, and then at the same time we had this Reconnect program come about. And for CityNet, we could have applied to use these to acquire funds to go anywhere in West Virginia, but we were so proud of the opportunity to work with Dodgers County and seeing the vision that they have from both at the local level and especially at the education level. We really thought it was our duty to try to focus our mission on Dodgers County. So we went forward and Of all the counties and all the places we could focus on, we decided to apply for a grant here in Doddridge County, and fortunately we were awarded the money. We were recipients of it, and what that's going to entail is, we've already got a wireless network we've started to engineer and build through the county. We've got the Zayo project coming through, and now when you take the fiber project and overlay it on top of the county, we feel pretty confident with just between those projects, we'll be able to we're focused on trying to get to all the students in the county, so that Doddridge County could be maybe one of the first counties in America where they no longer have snow days or challenges with bringing kids in, that they can actually do some distance learning. Now we all know that distance learning is not the greatest, but it does have a purpose, and it is a great asset to have. The advantage that the county will have is because all these connections will be true high-speed internet. They will meet the federal definition of 25 down and 3 up. On the wireless, the closer you are to the tower, the higher your speeds, probably 50 meg and higher. But generally, we can assure that you can get 25. But with the fiber network that we're deploying, we will actually be providing gigabit services to every household that is able to get the fiber, and that's 1,000 meg. So when you hear, the federal definition is 25, we're going to be bringing 1,000 meg, and what that does with those type of speeds and having a direct connection into the school system, I mean, these Zoom calls and these presentations, you're not going to have any type of a glitch or a glitter. Or, one of the kids is yelling at his brother who's streaming YouTube, but he can't watch, his teacher's instruction because there's not enough bandwidth. The network that we're going to deploy here will absolutely accommodate all those things. We're also, so we're really, really appreciative of the grant program. Need to really give a reach out to our federal delegation, Ms. Capito, and her work with the Capito Connect program. She's been, her and her office have been absolutely phenomenal in helping the state and trying to address the broadband problems, and have really been instrumental in helping city net in trying to solve those problems as well. And Congressman McKinley up north, we've got some projects we're hopefully going to be announcing in the near future. We'll have some stuff that we're going to be doing in the Northern Panhandle. Short of that, there is one more opportunity that's coming. There's a federal program called RDOF, the Rural Digital Opportunity Fund. It's about $766 million that's coming to West Virginia. That money's focused on census blocks or regions of the state where it is absolutely known that there is no broadband. Now, our maps are not perfect, but at least for this particular program, it is addressing where funds are addressing areas where there is no broadband. Now, some will look at the map and say, well, I don't have broadband, and how come I'm not identified? Well, those are some challenges we have with the mapping. I know that our leadership's working on trying to get that rectified. But this program that is coming is a real game changer for West Virginia. And I think in Doddridge County alone, there's about $15 million allocated right now. Now, it's a reverse auction, so that's not the full amount that would come. It requires providers like CityNet and maybe Armstrong and some others would need to participate in the auction and bid for that. But there is more money that will be coming to Doddridge County. And in order to participate in that program, I think I also need to give some credit to our governor, Jim Justice, in that one of the challenges in the RDOF program is that in order to participate, if you do win, you need to put up letters of credit so that you can start to receive those funds. And for small companies like CityNet and others throughout the state, to try to secure a letter of credit, the magnitude that we're talking about is it's impossible. And fortunately, our governor's office and our legislature saw the vision of, there's a challenge there. So the recent announcement by the Governor Justice, where he's modifying the state's loan guarantee broadband program, he's modified that to allow for letters of credit. And I believe our legislature is going to be making some appropriations to that this next session. So provided all that, we've got a lot of good leadership. People are recognizing that broadband's a challenge. And I can only say that the future for Doddridge County is really, really looking good, and we're very proud to be a part of that. And we'll definitely be here after the presentation. We can, if anybody's got some questions about it, we'll be happy to talk about it. Thank you.
Hey, Jim, your enthusiasm and dedication to providing broadband is outstanding. Thank you for making it your mission to connect rural West Virginia. Heard you talking about mapping. I see Ron Thorne here from Senator Manchin's office. Ron, would you bring greetings from U.S. Senator Joe Manchin?
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you, Chris. And thank you to Secretary Hubbard, Senator Capito, Congressman McKinley, Director Warner, and all the state, county, and local officials that have gathered with us today. The Senator sends his sincerest regrets for not being able to join with us in person today. He is currently en route back to DC for some early afternoon meetings, but he did provide a greeting for me to present to you all to mark this special occasion. On behalf of the citizens of the Mountain State and as your United States Senator, it is my distinct honor to welcome those attending today's United States Department of Agriculture Reconnect Broadband announcement in beautiful Doddridge County, and I join with you in celebration of this special occasion. I proudly congratulate Jim Martin, CityNet, their partners, and the countless others who worked so hard to make this announcement a reality. Today's Reconnect grant award of $7.6 million will be leveraged with additional matching funds for a total investment of more than $10 million to expand broadband service across Doddridge, Barber, and Randolph counties. More than 2,000 homes, 58 farms, 41 businesses, and a dozen essential community and educational facilities will be served by this project. As we work to strengthen and diversify our state's economy, to create jobs, attract new investment and opportunities, and navigate the everyday challenges as a result of COVID, we must ensure that West Virginians have access to adequate and reliable broadband internet service. Over the last decade, the industry has made great strides in building out broadband infrastructure, but significant gaps still exist in our state and across rural America. I have been working diligently with my colleagues in Washington to prioritize additional resources for new fixed and mobile broadband expansions like the USDA Reconnect program, and to maintain and upgrade service where it is already available. As a member of the Senate Appropriations Committee, please know I will do everything I can to secure appropriations necessary to ensure that broadband projects such as the one announced today that serves our rural communities may compete for funding for years to come. I appreciate the USDA for their continued support of West Virginia, and thank Undersecretary Hubbard and State Director Chris Warner for their hard work and service to our people. I'd also like to thank the entire CityNet team for taking the initiative to go through the incredibly complex application process to compete for these Reconnect dollars. Additionally, I want to thank my friends Senator Shelley Moore Capito and Congressman David McKinley for their dedication to our state and her people. Together we can continue the progress we've made in improving the lives of West Virginians and moving our state's communities and economy forward. Again, thank you to everyone who made today's announcement possible, and I look forward to the great things that will be done as a result of this broadband investment in the Mountain State. With warmest regards, Joe Manchin III, United States Senator.
Thank you, Ron. Although this Reconnect Award is benefiting multiple West Virginia counties, the largest portion of this award is being invested right here in Doddridge County. To tell you what the full impact this will have for the county, we have Doddridge County Commissioner Sean Glasswell.
Thank you, Chris, for allowing me to come up here and talk. 4 years ago, when I took office, we went to Charleston for a county commission meeting, and there was so many reasons why I run. Mainly, I wanted us to stay ahead of the curve here in the county, and I knew we had a lot of great things that were going to come about. We get into and I didn't want us to miss them. And I go into the first meeting, and there's Miss Capito, and the first thing she starts talking about is broadband. And I thought, well, I run because I didn't want to miss something, and I feel like this is probably going to be our opportunity. So the second year we go down, there's Miss Capito talking about broadband. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And she's been behind this ever since I followed her. So I don't have time to thank everybody, but I certainly want everybody here to understand what she's done, because it's been real serious. And with Mr. Warner, I mean, this is the work that they have done to help the rural counties, not only Doddridge, but it is just phenomenal. And you know, I want to thank my better two-thirds, Mr. Travis and Mr. Means, and this, you know, the decisions that we've had to make to push our county where it belongs are oftentimes tough. You know, a lot of people do not understand why you do this, you know, why you make those. They don't always like why we do it, but we did it anyway, and we're going to keep doing it until we're as good as we can be, and that's going to be way beyond when I'm still here. But, you know, last year, year before, finally, we were in a situation that we could appropriate funds towards this, and, you know, major funds. And the oil and gas certainly has been a delight, I mean, for financially, and we all know that. Well, we had, Miss Wilt was working with CityNet, and very hard working with CityNet, and we just couldn't get all of it together. I said, we can't come up with that dollar. We just can't get it. And we were all sitting there kind of brainstorming in the meeting, and somebody said, why don't we call Mr. Cheeseman? You know, I think the board would like to come on this. And so I called, he said, we'd love to. And, you know, to have the people around you that want to win at everything you do is spectacular. I mean, from the commissioners to our administrators to our Board of Education, the federal government and a private partnership is truly phenomenal, and you just don't see it very often. And we've got it here, and we've got it over and over and over again. So I just want to thank everyone that has helped us, and there's so many of you. I mean, from every staff member in our courthouse, whether it's Greg Cottrell at the Parks, whether it's the circuit clerk's office, the county clerk's office. I mean, we are on cue, it seems like every day. I mean, I can call in with a question. If I can't get it from the first one, the second one answers. And it's such a privilege to get to work with that kind of people, and with the board and his administration. It's great. So I want to thank everyone for this. It's an honor to be a part of this. And, you know, so just before I close, but to back up a couple years, the second interesting gentleman was Mr. Warner, and we've been in touch ever since. We were at a meeting in Canaan, and we're throwing things around, and I believe Mr. Means was at that meeting with me, and I said, do you know Jennifer Wilt? He said, no. I said, here's her number, and I said, let's get this together, and so it's been fantastic. So I just want to thank you all very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. You've now heard what the Reconnect program is and how it benefits rural West Virginia. It is a program that will benefit the state by connecting rural residents to high-speed internet, something that some West Virginians may have thought was not possible. But this award means so much more than just connecting folks to the internet. For our younger generation, it will provide a way for students to continue learning even when they cannot attend school due to COVID restrictions or inclement weather. Our final guest today is Doddridge County Superintendent Adam Cheeseman, who can tell you just how crucial this investment will be for the students in his county. Please welcome Superintendent Cheeseman.
So before I take my mask off, I'd like to have you all look at it. It says cross country. All right. Some of you may know that our county is in the red, and so our cross country athletes apparently aren't going to be able to participate in the state tournament, the regional track meet or cross country meet this week, and we find that to be just a little absurd, to be quite honest with you. And so I've spoken with everybody I can down in Charleston. If anybody has the governor's cell phone number, you can give him mine. He and I can have a conversation, okay? Because we believe that if they have tested, then they ought to be able to participate. All right, so let me start with that. And now we'll move into why we're here. I truly appreciate everybody coming and being a part of this. This is a really unique opportunity for Doddridge County, and especially for Doddridge County schools. There's really three things, so there's more than three, but there's three I'd like to touch on. This opportunity creates equity, all right? It creates equity for Doddridge County residents. It creates equity for Doddridge County students. It doesn't matter what their last name might be, how much money they may have or they don't have, what demographic they may be a part of. They are going to have high quality connectivity. And in the 21st century, we all know how important that is. And so while there might be a steady revenue of oil and gas monies coming through our county, it doesn't mean that our people have that money or have that income. Right, so this opportunity creates equity for our folks, and that's very, very important to us. Several years ago, we launched a one-to-one initiative where every one of our students has a device. And while we have touted that, and we're very proud of that, it's not truly a one-to-one initiative until we have internet at their household. And so this now brings that investment full circle. And we're so excited about that. The second unique thing is that this is truly a public-private partnership. And we believe in Doddridge County that that's where true innovation in education occurs, is when we begin to partner with private industry such as CityNet. And so we have a great relationship with our county commission, as you've heard, and so the public partnership has always been there. And now we've brought CityNet on board. It truly matches our mission statement. In 2016, our mission statement became United to Make a Difference. And so everything we do in Doddridge County, we strive to do it together. Now, we may not always agree on every single thing, we understand that, but at the end of the day, we try to do what's best for kids, and we can agree on that. The third thing that is unique about this opportunity for our school district is the fact that we have student participation in it. And this is perhaps the most exciting piece for me. When Jim came down last November, little did we know we'd be staring at a pandemic this year. I think nobody guessed that was happening or what happened. But we discussed how we connect, or how we get our kids connected in this program. And so we have a national partner called Jason Learning. And so between Jason Learning, CityNet, and our school system, we have put together a curriculum that actually allows our students to have a part to play in this whole project. So in our entrepreneurship class, we just launched it this fall, our students are going through many different projects, we call it PBLs, project-based learning, that will help them figure out potential problems and get solutions to those problems that Jim and his folks may run into. And so our students are going to help Jim and CityNet see that this project is done the right way. Furthermore, once it's completed, our students will serve as kind of like a help desk to Doddridge County. So we're going to have many first-time internet users. Well, we understand we won't be able to solve all the problems, and we'll still need Jim and his experts, of course, but a first-time internet user could call in to Doddridge County High School and get sent to the entrepreneurship class, and those students will try and help troubleshoot how to turn a computer on, how to fix a simple internet problem, those types of things. And so we've created a situation here where our students are going to have an opportunity, well, just think about it, the chance that they have. For the rest of their lives, they're able to say, hey, we played a part in a major, major development for Doddridge County. And so we're extremely proud about that, and we think that's a unique opportunity that we are giving the students. I certainly would be remiss if I did not mention my terrific Board of Education. All right, the vision that this board has and the support that this board has for not only me, but our staff and our students is amazing. And so you've already met our president, Reverend Denver Burnside, but we also have members, Ms. Angie Kern and Mr. Justin Holtz with us today. Mr. Chad Evans and Ms. Nora Cottrell could not make it, but all 5 of them truly care about these kids, and they have allowed us to be innovative, and they're visionaries, and so I appreciate their support, and would like to give them I'd also be remiss if I didn't mention the great team we have here at the central office. Many directors are standing around. I won't name them all by name, but they know who they are, and certainly could not do what we do without them and their hard work and their dedication. Again, I mentioned the mission statement, and I'll close with the mission statement. We believe now is the time, united to make a difference. Everything we do, we want to do it for our kids, to see that they've got the best possible future that they can. So thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Superintendent Cheeseman. You know, USDA, we're all about customer service, so I've got that telephone number for the governor's split. I will give it to you before I leave. I'm sure he'll appreciate that, but we'll make one last attempt at getting the cross-country team.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Hey, this concludes our ceremony today, and I want to thank you for being here. For those members of the media who would like more information about the announcement or an interview with Secretary Hubbard, Senator Capito, Congressman McKinley, City Net's Jim Martin, or Charlie Denny in his new position with the Office of Broadband, they'll be right here in front of the stage as soon as we're done.